Hey, I'm Jordan, and I serve on staff here at Redemption Church. Redemption is a radically inclusive community of hope, seeking to live Jesus-centered lives. You're about to hear a sermon from our Easter Sunday celebration. We hope you find it meaningful. We're able to share resources like this because of the contributions of people like you. You can contribute to our work at redemptionhlu.com/give. Now we invite you to take a moment as we prepare for a reading from John's Gospel.
Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came early to the tomb while it was still dark, and saw the stone already removed from the tomb. So she ran and came to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord from the tomb, and we do not know where they have put him." So Peter and the other disciple left, and they were going to the tomb. The two were running together, and the other disciple ran ahead faster than Peter, and came to the tomb first. And he stooped to look in, and saw the linen wrappings lying there. However, he did not go in. So Simon Peter also came, following him, and he entered the tomb, and he looked at the linen wrappings lying there, and the face cloth which had been on his head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but folded up in a place by itself. So the other disciple who had first come to the tomb also entered then, and he saw and believed, for they did not yet understand the scripture, that he must rise from the dead. So the disciples went away again to their own homes. But Mary was standing outside the tomb, weeping. So as she wept, she stooped to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting, one at the head and one at the feet where the body of Jesus had been lying. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they put him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there. And yet she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" Thinking that he was the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Stop clinging to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and my God and your God." Mary Magdalene came and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord," and that he had said these things to her.
Well, good morning and happy Easter. Christos Anesti, as they say in the other churches. But this Easter, I want you to know that whoever you are, the Easter story is for you. I recognize that it's Easter, and that on Easter, it's like, I don't know, it just feels like we go to church. That's what we do on Easter for many of us. But I want to recognize that perhaps you might be in here and you've never really actually bought into this whole God thing, or you find yourself like seriously questioning this whole God thing, not even getting into the conversation about some rabbi in the first century who rose from the dead. You may be muttering to yourself, "That's a great question, Brandon. God only knows why I'm actually here." Maybe you showed up for the mimosas, maybe it was the barbecue, but here you are. And I'm glad you're here because I really want you to know that this story is even for you. Even if nothing in the next, or your experience here changes anything about your mind and your heart and what you would say you believe, this story is still for you and it's reaching towards you. But maybe you're one of the many of us whose God has died. Your God was torn to shreds by some religious community, by politicians and parties eager to capitalize on your God's name. Or perhaps just the relentless nature of life. The disappointments, the discouragements, the pain, the suffering, the unanswered prayers have driven nails into the hands and feet of your God. You don't even really know if you believe anymore, but if ever were there a Sunday for you to be back in church, it feels like Easter seems like the day, so here you are. I want you to know that you're not alone, that we're a weird sort of church where there's many of us who are sitting in that sort of boat and share similar stories here today. I'm glad that you're here because regardless of how flickering your faith is, how precarious it might seem, the story is still for you. And maybe you're here searching. You never dreamed you'd end up in a church. You never dreamed you'd be the spiritual sort of person, the religious sort of person. You're looking for something bigger than yourself, something outside of yourself. You've some sense of the divine, some sense that there's something beyond you, worth being known, worth connecting to, and so here you are. Trying to adjust your spiritual antenna, looking for some sort of signal, adjusting for reception. Is there something here in this place maybe on Easter? Let's give it a shot. And mimosas and barbecue to boot, so that's good. But this too, this is also a story for you. Whoever you are and whatever brings you to church on Easter Sunday, I know that this story is for you because this story is a gift that is given for all of humanity. It is God's gift to each and every one of us. And because you're human, you likely have a life that is filled with regret, broken relationships, moments that you wish you could take back, things that you've done and things that you've left undone, you feel guilty about, you feel shame over, things that even now you continue to get wrong. And you're likely here with a significant amount of grief because you're human. Life has a way of offering wear and tear and disappointment and weathering. And while life is good and robust and beautiful, we also recognize if you've lived any length of time, it is shot through pain and suffering and loss, and worst of all, most unspeakably of all, death. And because you're human in America in 2025, you likely have a great deal of uncertainty about what tomorrow holds. A sense of little to no say in the direction of your life and in the direction of the life of the country and the trajectory of the globe and world history. You perhaps, for the first time ever maybe, feel like the world is absolutely spiraling out of control and that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow will not be better than today. And frustrated, anxious, and helpless. And when you drill down deep, 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 you have this nagging sense that maybe the world will be a little bit worse off for your kids than it was for you. And all of this mess that we call being human, this is the world that we live in. This is the world that we get out of bed and put our feet on the ground and walk into every single day. One of the ways that I like to think about it is this is a world that's a world of static. I don't know why. This is the image that came to my mind. And then I believe it was on Good Friday, someone was like, yeah, God, can you just reach through the static? I'm like, hey, look at that. But I just picture like this like dark room with a lone TV sitting on a thing, and it's like a TV from the 80s, so it's got the antenna, and it's got the knobs, and it's just, there's no sensible sound, there's no sensible picture, it's just noise. And now I think of The Grinch, because my daughter loves The Grinch, and it's just noise, 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 noise. And again, I found a way to cram Christmas into an Easter sermon. You're welcome. But there's static, if you'll just go with me with the image today. It seems like in the world of static, there's really nothing that actually really makes sense. Just kind of blurry and fuzzy. In a world of static, it's good things that happen to bad people and bad things that happen to good people and innocent people. In a world of static, senseless horrors seem to happen to the weakest and the most innocent of us, the ones who don't deserve it at all. It's a godless world. A world that might drive you to go, of course there's no God. Look around you. All is static. We live in a world static. And this is the world that you find when there's no signal, when nothing breaks through, when you're truly just out there on your own on a rock hurtling through space. And I looked this up at 67,000 miles per hour. Thank you, ChatGPT. I hope the computer demigods led me in the right direction there. This is the world that the story of God introduces to us and names. It's not a world that's unfamiliar to the scriptures. It's not as if someone says, man, this place is God-forsaken, that they're somehow saying something that's contrary to what God has revealed in Jesus Christ as he's being nailed to the cross. But this is the world that is Darwin's world, this godless world, this world of nature, a world of nothing but random signals that bounce off of one another in meaningless isolation. This is a world that's severed from a signal, from an author, from a poet, a creator, a world severed from meaning, a world severed from life. It's the world where survival of the fittest seems to be the true and only way to move ahead. It's to kill or to be killed. It's the world that is sitting like a 100-pound backpack on your back every single day as stress and traffic and pollution and sickness and all the things just keep cramming in on you. And so in a world of static, what do humans do? We do our best to try and bring meaning to life. Without rhyme or reason, we're left to create meaning for ourselves. And so we look at our careers, maybe, to carve out some meaning. Maybe we want to try and do something that makes the world a little bit better. We look to money for stuff. We look to money for status. We look to money for security. We look to money because, I don't know, money, I guess. We look to procreation, but then also like not too much procreation because we also want leisure and limiting responsibility. So we want to procreate, but not like that kind of procreation. And so we look to self-care, self-help, self-indulgence, wellness, mindfulness, fitness, survival of the fittest, lots of work, so that we can have lots of stuff, but no time to enjoy the stuff. But then we're going to work so that we can go on the vacation, but we're too busy for the vacation. And while we're on the vacation, all we can think of is that thing back at the office that we've been working for, and we're busy, and we're crammed, and we're stuffed full. So we want leisure. That's what we need. We need lots of leisure. Meaning will be found in the binging, in the drinking, in the door dashing, in the consuming. Consuming is what is going to give me life. I need more, I need more, I need more. And are we consuming or are we being consumed? And our quest for self-meaning, we have become the wealthiest, most technologically advanced, busiest, and as far as we've been measuring this sort of thing, the most miserable slice of humanity the world has ever seen. And left to carve meaning for ourselves, we are lonelier than ever. We are more burnt out than ever. We are more anxious than ever. We are more depressed than ever. We are less human than ever. But hey, DoorDash, right? I mean, come on. But what else can you do in a world of static? In a world of isolation, in a world where you are on your own? What else can you do? I'm with you in all of this. I am grasping at the same straws that you're grasping for. The Easter story is for you. Because the Easter story is one where Mary firmly stands where you and I stand. Mary finds herself in a world of static. But early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark. Now I know we like to read our Bibles like historians, or we like to maybe even try to read our Bibles like scientists, but today I want you to read your Bibles like poets. Because I think John has enough poetry in his bones to write this story in a very poetic way. And I don't think that it's an accident, because it's never an accident in John's gospel when it's dark outside. He's dimming the lights and he's trying to focus on something, and Mary is standing firmly in the dark. And yet she's encountered something. She shows up in the darkness to the place where dead things go, and something is different. She came to the tomb in the dark. Her feet are firmly planted in this world, the real world, the actual world, not the world of fairy tales and fables and Greek gods. The world where hopes for something different, something beyond the static, are mercilessly crucified before her very eyes. The world where the teacher and rabbi that she loves and has just lavished out this like really expensive perfume and worship and praise and adoration of him was brutally massacred before her. She knows the world of regrets well. She's just watched broken promises, damaged relationships, violence and wars and blood feuds and partisanship and tribalism break out in the most horrific way she could ever imagine. The world of regrets put Jesus to death. And she knows the world of grief, where things die, where people die, where we lose and we lose and we lose until we feel like we're worn thin and wavering, and we wake up to the reality that all seems to just die. The world of broken dreams and waking nightmares and grief, so much grief, because there is so much loss. And she is standing firmly in the world of uncertainty and fear, where she does not know what tomorrow holds, and her optimism is worn thin. And the promises of progress are tombs. She stands in the darkness, looking into the place of death, where a life that was centered on a man was torn to shreds as she watched. What now? What next? Mary knows what it is to be human. And surely this is not how Mary saw this story going. Mary stands at a tomb in the dark, standing where we all stand in a world that is a world of static. And I wonder if you, when you slow down and you really give attention to your soul, to that inner voice inside of you, to that thing rattling around inside of us that just somehow makes us a little bit different than everything else around us, I wonder if you feel a little bit like Mary this morning. A little lost, a little hopeless. Right? And I know we're in church, and so we're supposed to do the thing where we put on the thing, and we wear the hats, and we're like, yeah, Jesus, yay, woohoo. And yet, if we're honest before God this morning, I wonder if we don't feel a little bit like we've been left to fend for ourselves and make sense of the senseless all on our own. Mary firmly stands where you stand. Mary firmly stands where I stand, groping around for answers in the dark inside of a world of death as we dip our head down into the tomb, we look, search for answers. And from this vantage point, Mary cannot imagine that the world, her life, could ever be anything other than this, especially right now. The reality is that in our world of static, we can't comprehend a world that can contain Easter. And so, as Mary processes, there's a grave with no body. She can only interpret it all through the lens of pain and brokenness she's known her whole life. And so she runs back to proclaim the news. But it's not the news that we celebrate on Easter. It's the news that they have taken his body, because this is what they always do. And she assumes that things went the way that things always go. The world of corruption was acting corruptly and doing what it always does. That they, the powers, the oppressors, the occupiers, the evildoers, have fully and finally exerted their strength and their power and their might over him, erasing all evidence that he even ever existed. Will steal his body, then they have nothing left to venerate but a memory. So Mary stands where we all stand, outside of the tomb, in the darkness, weeping with no answers. She's crouched down, head in the tomb, looking for something that she can grasp, make meaning in the midst of all the static. And even the angels don't interrupt her world of static. She just repeats the same bad news to them. They've taken his body. And then Jesus shows up. In verse 14, when she had said this, she turned. She saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. It's as if she can't fathom a world of Easter. She glances back at Jesus and can't really see him through the static. He's unfamiliar. She can't hear him. She's looking at him, but this is a world of death where things don't come back to life. So it does not compute. And so she turns back, and she's digging around back in the place of the dead. And Jesus says to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she says to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me, where have you laid him? And I will take him away," still searching for answers. She dismisses Jesus as the gardener. She's almost annoyed at this interloper's intrusion on her grief. She turns back to the place where dead things are, looking for answers, weeping. Jesus says to her, Mary. She turns second time, final time. And in this turning, she really turns. In this turning, something turns in her. She says to him in Hebrew, Rabboni, which means teacher. He calls her name and she turns. Right? You've heard this in certain churches as repentance. It's also language that's used for resurrection, renewal. When Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead, he does it by calling Lazarus' name. When Jesus talks about himself as the resurrection of the life, he says, one day all who are living in the tombs will hear me call their name and they will come out. He says, Mary. She awakens. She awakens from her world of death. She awakens from the tomb, and she awakens to the song of God breaking through the static. And this time when she turns, she fully turns, eyes wide open, attention to Jesus, and no longer on the place where dead things are. She turns away from the place of death towards the source of life. For the first time in the story, she can see and hear God's music being played in Christ. New life. Resurrection. In a world of Easter, God's music is breaking into the world of static. And I know you might not be able to hear it. I know that it seems so ridiculous possibly to begin to think that maybe this is true. But let me tell you, as the person whose job it is to stand up and proclaim these sorts of things, I'm convinced God has not left us alone in the static. And we are not left to try and carve out meaning for ourselves on our own. And if you listen, if you begin to try and somehow open up to the idea to tune in, you might just hear your name being called. You might just hear some music, some rhythm, some note beyond the noise, beyond the static, a music that brings some sort of meaning beyond the meaningless, a life beyond the death, resurrection. New life, resurrection, reconciliation, resurrection, all things made new. My friends, all I know to do on this Easter Sunday is to stand up and to tell you that beyond the static, I hear a song. It's the song of God being played through the risen Christ. And I so long for you to hear it as well. Mary heard it. I wonder if you'll hear it too. And on this resurrection morning, there's someone else among us who's heard the song. You're like waiting for like the big entrance where the thing opens and someone comes down. It's Jesus playing no? Thanks. Christine's getting paid well for the sound effects. But this person, like Mary, is turning away from the world of death towards Jesus. And this is all put on display in this thing that we call baptism. If you've been baptized, your baptism is the moment where you turned, or where you were turned, however you want to think about it, buried with Christ into the waters of his baptism, and raised to his new life, a resurrected life, a life that dances to the music of God.
Thanks for listening. We desire to be a church where everyone is seen, known, and loved. We want you to know that we are here for you. To connect with someone from our team, reach out by visiting redemptionhou.com/connect. Now go out today in the love of the Father by his Spirit, embodying the hope of Jesus to the world around you.